Welcome to the Make Life Your Bitch podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Alicia. Greatness is a decision and your birthright. You deserve to love the woman looking back at you in the mirror. This show is for the purpose-driven female entrepreneur who is committed to only counting the time she gets back up. The woman who is ready to ignite the flame within, find her voice, and use the power of her story to transform the lives of those around her. This is your weekly fuel to inspire you to action, where I'll be sharing inspirational stories, real talks with thought leaders and successful entrepreneurs from around the world, and provide you with actionable success strategies for creating a business you love. I'm a content marketing coach, and I'm committed to helping you as an online creator and entrepreneur wherever you are to turn your dreams into a reality, to help you transform your messaging so you can create a genuine connection with your audience and grow your income online. You are far more powerful and stronger than you will ever imagine. We are the warriors. You were born for this. Let's make life your bitch.
Hey ladies. All right, I'm just pulling up on my other device the little thingy so I can, it said I would be able to manage it from another device. It lied. Okay, so today I am just quickly popping on and saying welcome to those of you who are going to be part of the Aligned AF Content That Converts Masterclass. So this is your pre-warm-up, pre-party. So I always like to do one of these because there's nothing worse than you all of a sudden getting through day one and realizing that you missed it, and we don't want that. So because of that, I always like to do a day before so that all of a sudden all the, oh my goodness, I missed it, gets thrown to the wayside after today. So what you are going to learn inside this masterclass is you are going to, by the end, be able to identify why your content is not converting. You're going to be able to see that, like, this is the reason that when I create my content, even though people are maybe interacting and I'm getting the likes and people are saying yes and all those kinds of things, why they're not coming over the finish line. That when you do a masterclass, when you do a launch, they're not, there's a disconnect. And so there's a lot of things in the industry that I've identified, that I've experienced. And so I want to be able to share that with you so that you don't run into that situation anymore. And the goal is for you to be able to create an audience that is aligned and primed and ready to buy every single time you put an offer out there. But if all you're ever doing is like showing up, inspiring people, and there's, then you're jumping right to the sale and you don't actually have something. Hi Ella. Usually the comments don't show up, and it did. That's good. But if it doesn't, if you don't have an actual roadmap to get people to your launch, and you find that you're just kind of, getting the likes, like I said, and no one's buying, we're going to go through all of that. So with that, day one is all about creating aligned AF content. So that's like creating the content and being able to position yourself as the authority in your space, becoming untouchable. That's one of the things that I love to talk to my clients about, is how to become untouchable in your niche. And that's like really where that confidence lies. I've heard people say that, someone just messaged me yesterday and she said, I go in and I create something, but I bounce around and then I'm too scared to actually put it out there. Or you put out your offer and then nobody is interacting, and you feel like, okay, well, no one wants what I'm selling, so now I have to start over. So we're going to clear all that up tomorrow. On day two, we are going to do the content that converts. So we are actually going to create your roadmap as to creating the content, and then how it's going to connect to people actually purchasing from you. And I'm going to shed some light on that. Plus you're going to be able to create your own roadmap. The other thing we are going to do is I'm going to show you how to create endless ideas of content that, make sure when you guys are popping on, you're saying hello. So on day two, and I'm also going to show you how to create endless ideas of value add content, because I know that's something that people sometimes struggle with. They say I stare in front of my screen and I have no idea what to post. I come on and I want to be able to share something of value to people, because apparently I'm supposed to do that. but you have no idea what to even say. So I'm going to show you how to create endless ideas. Hi, Tina. And this is something that I did with my clients a week or two ago in the Make Life Your Bitch Mastermind. And what I was able to do was, sit down, and we ended up doing like a 2-hour call, and I spent time with each one of them individually they ended up walking away with over like 50 plus pieces of content ideas. So I'm going to show you how to do that yourself tomorrow. Okay. On day 2. So that would be on Wednesday. On day 3, so on Thursday, we are going to talk about your launch strategies and just the single little shifts you need to make, like those micro shifts, so that when you are actually going through a launch, because raise your hand here if you've been ever told that you don't need to do free masterclasses, that you don't need to create free content, free value. If you ever just got tired of trying to do those things because maybe they're not working. Even if you're someone who are you ever guilty of you get this really good idea? Hey, Britt, this is you. This is you that I'm just going to share about. If you ever get this like really good idea and you want to like immediately be able to go and put out your like masterclass or your offer, and you're so energized about it, but then all of a sudden no one shows up to your masterclass. And I'm not saying no one shows up to your masterclass, but it's like that because you just messaged me the other day and you're like, I'm excited. Like, I have this idea for this masterclass. And so we want to be able to make sure that when you create your content, that if you do get those really exciting ideas, that you can actually go out there and people are ready to jump all over the masterclass that you've created. That when you go live, people are like, oh my God, like, I don't want to miss it, right? That they come back and they like see that you're live, that if you have a Facebook group, if you're on your personal profile, whatever it is, they're actually like excited for you to show up, right? Because they're primed, they're ready, they're waiting on the edge of their seat for that next thing that you are putting out there, right? So that's going to be something that we talk about on Thursday. And then on Friday, we are all going to jump over to Zoom. So if you need to call in sick, do it. So we are going to pop over to Zoom, all of us, and we're going to do a Q&A. So any questions you have related to content, your launches, that kind of thing. And then we are also going to talk about repurposing content. The reason I like to do this on Zoom is because I like to be able to like hold my phone up to like show you things and for you to actually be able to ask questions as we go through it. So we're going to take one of your pieces of content that maybe you've identified that you want to repurpose on Wednesday. And we are going to, on Wednesday, get you to put a piece of content out there. But then on Friday, we are going to repurpose it a bunch of different ways. So I do have a free resource that I just put out that talks about 7 different ways. I'm going to talk about probably about 10 or more ways. And I'm also going to show you how to do it easy, right? Because if you've ever been that person, like raise your hand if you've ever been that person that you know you can repurpose content, but it seems very overwhelming, that you're like wondering like, how long is this going to take? Like, and you feel overwhelmed, and maybe you're someone who, when it comes to content, you end up feeling overwhelmed and you just want to like throw it to the side and you're just like, fuck this. I don't want to do it. So if that's something that you've ever experienced, that's what we're going to walk you through. This entire masterclass is focused on helping you be able to create that content so that it becomes easy, that it becomes fun, and that I'm going to tell you that you don't have to create certain pieces of content or show up in different places just because everyone else is telling you that you need to be there. So we're going to go through that as well. And we're going to help you identify your special way of doing it. So I just want to touch on, I'm going to touch on why me and my like story briefly, but also I do want to say, I want you to go live today in the group for like 2 to 3 minutes, introduce yourself and just share like what it is that you do, like who you are, what your niche is, and then also share like why, why you chose the niche that you're in. Like, so what is it and why did you choose it? And if you're someone who's like, I don't like to go live, share like your favorite picture of yourself and then like do it in the comments. But for those of you who don't really know who I am, I'm Brittany Alicia, obviously. I'm Canadian, and it was like melting here yesterday. It was really weird. It was very Canadian like, un-Canada like where I live in January. So with that being said, like how I got to like where I am doing my business, that kind of thing, was my very first business was when I was 17 years old. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 17. I went and I got like my gel nail certificate, and I was doing gel nails in my parents' basement. And so while I was doing, gel nails in their basement, I just wanted like that piece of, I wanted to be my own boss, right? Like, have you ever, like, tell me like in the comments, like, why did you become an entrepreneur yourself? Like, what age were you when you were like, I'm gonna do this? And I mean, I know some people say like selling lemonade. I did that too, but I mean, like, legit, I started my own business at 17. After that, I went into doing some like network marketing. I've done like 4 or 5 different network marketing companies. My first one was Passion Parties. I had never used any of those gadgets in my life, but I was like, this is interesting. I went to a party, I signed up, and I was like really good at selling something that I had never used before. And so, it excited me. Then I ended up like going to school and those kinds of things. Another thing that I did was like fast forward was Norwex. Has anyone ever used Norwex? It's like cleaning supplies that are like healthy for the environment. When I did that, again, I was like really good at that. Like within the first like 2 weeks, I was at like the top of my tier. My entire kitchen table, I took a picture of it. That was like all free stuff. But with that, I didn't have a partner that supported me. They were like really supportive as I was making money. But when all of a sudden it started to take away my time, they were no longer supportive. And so that for me was like one of those first times that I experienced being an entrepreneur and not having the support system behind me from my loved ones in order to be able to pursue it and to actually be able to move forward. So all of a sudden I kind of started to fold in on myself. Like, have you ever, like, what is your support system like? Because I can say when, I started my coaching business, my family and my friends were not supportive. And it's not that they weren't supportive in like, you can do it. It was just like every time I did something, they questioned it. Especially because like when we work online, a lot of people don't see how it can be possible. And when we are setting like big, massive goals for ourselves, and we're saying like, I want to make millions of dollars, like, maybe you want to quit your 9 to 5, all those things, your family and your friends like look at you like you're crazy. And the reason is because that's just like a box and a belief system that they've put themselves in. They have this glass ceiling that they're like, this is as far as I could go, this is as much as I can do. And so when they see someone else doing it, they're totally like confused as to how that's even possible. So for yourself, like, have you ever been there? And so I ended up going through a breakup in 2018. I was left for another woman. And my like life was like in pieces. If anyone's ever gone through the grieving experience, especially when the person's still fucking alive, it's a process. And I looked at my life and all this big, huge, beautiful life that I created and like thought I was going. We had the house, the kids, the car, the dogs, the career, all the things, right? And at that time, like he talked about all his dreams, and I thought like I would just be that person to like, I thought I would just be that like not stay-at-home like wife, because I did like by trade I'm an x-ray tech. I work like used to work in the hospital and that kind of thing. But what I ended up finding was that there was this like feeling that I would just like be the support for his dreams. And so when he had these big dreams as to what like he was going to do with his life and like the finances, when all of a sudden that ended and I was like, whoa, if I want those things in my life, I have to be in control of that. I have to be the person who's like going to show up for me and like have the ideas. And I remember sitting there when he used to talk about 7 sources of income is what's going to get you to financial success. I remember being in that place of like, how do people even come up with an idea to be an entrepreneur and do things themselves? And it was because I was just like so narrow minded, right? And so as I've come into identifying my niche was as I was going through this process of the breakup, I ended up going to a Tony Robbins event. I watched like everyone raise their hands saying they're an entrepreneur. And I was like, I need to be an entrepreneur apparently to be here. And at the end of it, I ended up just learning like throughout that, like unleash the power within experience, it was how to love myself, right? Like I never realized that I didn't love myself until that event, until coming out the other side. So a lot of people, like when they come into my world, when like I connect with women, is they're kind of at that place of like ensuring that they question themselves, right? As entrepreneurs, we question ourselves. We question like, is this offer right? Why aren't people buying? Why, like, do I need to change this offer because nobody's purchasing? And I want to tell you, like, it's probably not your offer. I know people always say like, oh, it's your offer. It's your offer. Like, it's probably not. You might need to make it sexier. You might need to like get people more on the edge of their seat ready to buy, but it's probably not your program. It doesn't matter what people say. Like, if you have a reason for doing it because you've experienced it, someone out there needs it. A couple years ago, we saw this woman who was selling her trash. She was selling her trash on Instagram, and like there was the comment that was made inside our Make Life Your Bitch mastermind that if that woman can sell her garbage online, if people want to buy pictures of your feet, you have no excuse for people not wanting to purchase your program. I promise you there's people out there. And so if that's the pep you need in your step today, that's what you're going to get. Haha, no pun intended, actually. But yes, that was funny. I am funny. So anyway, so like, you know, as I went through that process of learning how to love myself, and all of a sudden, like I was at another Tony Robbins event, that was that moment that I decided like, hey, I want to help people. And so I started off with just starting a blog. And I started this blog of just like inspiring women. And that's actually where the brand Make Life Your Bitch started, was through all these like trials, tribulations, struggles that I had been through. It was just like, I wanted to be that person who has said like, it doesn't matter what I've been through, I'm going to make my life my bitch. So if you've read my story, I shared like a 3-part story on my Facebook the other day. And that story was focused on like how, it was focused on actually money blocks and how I used to like, you know, used to struggle with that mindset around money with my offers, that kind of thing. And it was because like, even when I would get money from clients, like it was like a catch and release, and like investing in like so many coaches because I thought I was broken, right? Like I've invested in so many different coaching programs and all of that, thinking that like I need this like next golden ticket for like why, like what I'm missing, right? So I've invested in like real programs. I've done like different, like a million different content programs. And what I realized with that was that I didn't have like a solid content strategy, right? So that's, like I said, that's what we're going to be talking about is like, as you have like gone through all those programs, I'm going to show you how they all come together, how that strategy actually connects, especially if you are someone who isn't at those 10K, 20K months in your business. If you are someone who's like making a sale here and there, but you're wondering why it's like not consistently growing or why you haven't hit that 10K month point, I'm going to show you like the roadmap and like actually the launch strategy that you need to take in order to get your clients to purchase from you. Because those women who are telling you, who are making millions, telling you that you don't need to do anything for free, or you don't have to like, you know, the whole point of doing something for free is to build trust with your audience, for people to be able to see you and be like, I know who she is now, right? Because I can post pictures and like create content all day, but there's just something about being able to see that someone's a real human that like changes and shifts things for us. With these women who are making millions, their way of building that trust is showing that people have purchased a bunch of their programs, showing people like all the results and that kind of thing. So for me, I'm an embodiment of what I teach. So if I'm going to tell you like different ways to build trust, I better be doing it myself and showing you that it works, right? So that's important to me, is that I'm an embodiment. And, you know, I used to say, like, do as I say, not as I do. You know, and I don't say that anymore, because I know I've been through like the ebbs and flows of business, to know enough what works and what doesn't. So what I ended up doing, like I said, went to this Tony Robbins event, decided to make life my bitch. And that's when I also decided, like, all these people here are talking about being coaches. Like, I want to be a coach. And it wasn't until like a little bit after that I decided I was going to go all in on that. When I touched down from that flight from Chicago in July of 2018, I, within 48 hours, received a call from my mom saying, your dad's in the hospital. He cut off his arm. And all of a sudden, like, it was like reality set in, right? Like, have you ever been that person where it's like you are super excited about your business, you're taking action, maybe you're going through the launch, and all of a sudden, like, life happens, right? Like, someone calls you and they're like, you know, you just experience this like state of overwhelm, and all of a sudden it might stop you in your tracks. It doesn't allow you to go through the finish line. I've been there. Right? And it's like all of a sudden I take a step back. And the biggest thing that I learned through that experience was the importance of loving myself, in a sense of like, I cannot give from an empty cup. And so having those like self-care mindset practices is also super important. So I'll make sure I touch on that tomorrow as well, is like that mindset as to like how to get you through, you know, the days where it feels difficult. Because when I first started my business, in the coaching space, and I started like, you know, coaching women, and I took on like free clients in the beginning. This was like 5 years ago. But what ended up happening was, I ended up staying like stuck in this like mental state of like, you know, seeing everyone else successful. And I wasn't. I didn't want to charge, you know, high ticket prices, because I didn't think I was of value. And so I know there's always that question too of people. It's like my pricing, like, what do I charge someone? How do I get myself to that place of like getting people to buy when I feel like, you know, nobody's buying right now. So why would they purchase that? And, you know, why would they purchase at this price? Do I have proof? Right? I remember like coming out of like, I was living with my dad at the time because I'd gone through the breakup, right? Went through the breakup. I was living with my dad, and there was like the limiting belief within myself of like, I'm in my childhood bedroom. How can I be enough to actually help someone with their business if I'm back here? But it was a decision. Like, I just decided to be there because I didn't plan on, like, I planned on like uprooting my life and like moving away. Then I met my boyfriend today, and like everything changed. But, you know, it was like, that was the plan. So I was like, you know, in my childhood bedroom, and, you know, I'm doing these sales calls, and finally I make like my first like real sale to take someone through my program. And that was like the first time I took someone else through the Independent Boss Babe Academy program. And I was like, came out of my room, told my dad, I'm like, I just made a sale. And he's like, yeah, but like, are you sure you made a sale? Like, could this be a con artist, right? Because if you read my story, on my profile, I talk about how this ex that was abusive was a con artist, right? So of course, he goes to that place of like trying to protect me. And he's like, but are you sure? And I'm like, yes, I think so. And I'm like calling my like coach, and I'm like, what do I do? Like, is this real? And he's like, yeah, it's real, Brittany. Like, calm down. And so like I did that. I remember like as I started to grow my business, and like all of a sudden like some of my family started to see that like this is possible. I remember hitting 6 figures in my business, calling my sister, like, and when I realized that I hit 6 figures, it was 6 figures in sales, that like I was gonna hit 6 figures this year, I was like shaking. And I remember just being like, oh my God, I did it. Like, I did it. Like, I was hitting the 10K months. And I just remember like that month I had hit 20K. And all of a sudden I was like ready, like ready to share it with someone. And I wanted to make sure I chose someone who wouldn't be like, you know, that person that wasn't like supportive. So I call my sister, and she's always been supportive of me. And she was having a day. And she's like, yeah, but Brittany, how much of that have you saved? And it was just like the wind in my sails was just like, right? Because that's when I realized I catch and release money, right? I was that person that it didn't matter how much money I was making. I constantly felt like I need to be, and like my release was to other coaches. I needed to keep investing in coaches because that's what we are also, you might also see from the millionaires online is like, you need to like, in order to like make lots of money, you need to make the big, bold moves. And they're coming from a place of, they already have their like content, their strategy, their niche, all of it's dialed in, right? That's why they're investing in like high ticket mindset coaches, is because the strategy is in place, right? And so we need to make sure you have a strategy in order to get yourself to that place. Just investing in a mindset coach. I always like to talk about mindset and strategy. I remember the first time I took like a group of women through the academy. One of the women, like I said, like I had made a comment about not being a mindset coach, and she's like, Brittany, you're totally a mindset coach. Like, shut up. So, I mean, I personally like to do both, but I also know that in order to have that mindset and everything in place, to have the confidence that, you know, maybe you're struggling with, you need to be really solid and excited about your niche, your program, what you're creating, and have this like unwavering, untouchable confidence that like you are the person who can help them, that you know that your program is the best fucking one out there, right? Like it's like all these other people, like their programs are not as good as mine. And let me tell you why, right? And if you watched me go through like making the 10K guarantee in the Make Life Your Bitch mastermind back in December, it was like I hit that point too where I was like, with this mastermind, I know that by the end, no, like women will be hitting 10K months. And if you aren't, I'll work with you for free. I want you to be able to have that kind of confidence in your program, right? I'm not saying you have to do that type of guarantee, but like that was like, that's the level of confidence that I have in that mastermind, right? And so it's both. In order for me to develop that level of confidence, I needed a really solid, confident strategy of knowing how I get my clients results and like being very clear on it, not just being like, well, on week 1, we talk about, you know, content. It's like, well, what are we talking about on week 1 to really make sure that like they have this dialed in, right? And so my sister, she said to me, she's like, but like, you know, are you like, what did you save? And for me, it just like, again, it like took the wind out of my sails. What I've recently learned when it comes to human design is that I am someone that needs to like get like wins. I need little wins in order to feel like I'm enough, or to feel like I'm successful. And so being able, like talking to someone and them like, you know, wiping that out was like very overwhelming, and it like set me back. And so all of a sudden, like I was like doing all this money block work, which I mean, I spent a year doing the mindset work, removing the money blocks, like learning how like the manifestation science behind it. If you've ever been on my podcast, I love talking about like abundance and the manifestation, like science behind it. If you've ever heard of the 5th dimension, how to like connect with that. I love the science of manifestation because I am a why person. Like, tell me what it is I need to do. Tell me why you want me to do it, and I will go out there and do it. But if you're just telling me to go do something and I don't know why, like I probably won't do it. I'm rebellious. I'm going to fight you on it a little bit, right? So that is usually like how my dream clients are. It's a lot of fun being able to walk them through that, because some people just don't have patience to work with someone who's going to be like, but I don't want to follow your strategy. Let me show you why, right? So it's important that like when you're investing in a coach and you know what kind of person you are, that you have someone who's like going to be in your corner and like actually understands your mindset and your attitude. But you know, and like my point is not saying don't invest in coaches. Obviously I am a coach. My point is that make sure that you're very mindful of where you're at, be okay with where you're at, and invest in a coach who's going to be able to help you create the foundation that you need to be successful in your business, right? And so when I was able to go through all those blocks and like really identify like why it is I do the catch and release and all that, it's like all of a sudden my business came together and everything made sense. But in that process, when I took a step back away from actually working on strategy and sharing strategy in my business, well, it was able to happen was I was able to create this like beautiful business that that gave me my time back, right? Who here wants time freedom, right? Who here, when they like started their businesses, they're like, I want freedom. I want financial freedom. I want time freedom. I want to have the money in order to be able to go travel, buy whatever I want, never have to look at my bank account again. Well, what I've realized is that like, if you're someone who's like constantly needing to show up, if you are someone who, it's like you really want the money, but you think like you like spread yourself super thin, you're constantly like, trying to create like a million different programs, or you want like 300 people in your private coaching experience, all of a sudden you're going to realize that, hey, like I have the money, and you're going to hit that point that like, it's not just about the money. I don't have time, right? And that was something that I realized, was that I was sitting in front of a computer all the time, and I didn't have the time to actually spend with my family. I have a new daughter, and all of a sudden it was like I was working through how to rebuild my business in a way that allowed me to actually be able to spend time with my family. In the last like few months, I've been able to start playing piano again, painting, doing a whole bunch of things that I actually love, and being able to, because of like being able to restructure my business in that way, it's really allowed me to be able to, like I said, be able to create that freedom for myself. And so if you're someone who it's like freedom's important, it's important for you to start focusing on that now. Like everything that you create, every program you create, every mastermind, every private coaching, it's like, if I was to go to the beach right now, if I was to go on a trip, what would happen with my business? What would I have to have in place? And so for me, I was able to say like, no more million launches, or like no more million different programs. For me, I have my private coaching. I have the Make Life Your Bitch Mastermind. I have the Abundance Codes program, which is like about the money blocks, like I said, that I went through. I personally went through that experience. And now I love talking about manifestation, energetics, how to find those blocks within your body and realize where those stories are. So I have Abundance Codes that I do twice a year. And then I have the Wealthy Rebel Academy, which is my new program that's coming out, which I'm going to share about more on Wednesday. But it's all about helping you go through a launch, and I'm doing it 3 times this year. And the really cool thing about this is that when like I do this the first time, because it's like the first time I'm doing this program, it's like a spin-off of the Independent Boss Babe Academy, but it's actually like a done with you launch structure. And the cool thing about it is that when you join like the first time, is like you're in for life. So you're going to get to do multiple launches with me this year, which I'm really excited about. But I'll go more into that and the really exciting stuff that I'm including with my sexy offer on Wednesday. So we'll talk about that later. But so, as I went through that experience and got to where I am today, that was kind of like my experience that I went through to be able to like get back my time, to be able to make more money in my business. And, I have people sometimes say, and I also do like private one-off like calls based on collapsing time and based on signature systems. But like, again, that's like a different, like, what do we call it? Like your product suite. And so I always like to talk about like, well, what is your product suite that like, it's like your product suite is like your time freedom, right? It's like your product suite is like the freedom of like, what does my business look like? And what does that mean for me as I move forward into my life? And so that is why I chose my niche that I'm in today. That is why I chose, the niche of, being able to have the mindset and have the content, because that was something that I had to work through. I love talking about manifestation. I love talking about content, and I had to work through the process of like, how do I bring these two together? And it was like, cool, because I'm doing a human design series. Who's here like likes human design and it interests them? Tell me in the comments like if you are into human design, what your human design is. Because for me, I'm a self-projected projector. I'm a 2/4, and I could go down the rabbit hole as to like everything else. But through me recording the human design series for the podcast, it's gonna like be launching in a few weeks. I've been able to really learn about my human design. And the cool thing is, as these women are sharing about it, it's like I'm going to be showing my human design so that you can go through and figure out your chart as well. So it's like, you know, those like numbers on the sides. And like the thing is, I'm no human design expert. Okay. Like I am not a human design expert by any means. It was something that like intrigued me, and so I was like, I'm gonna put this on my podcast and I'm gonna learn about it. And so Cass says she's a 4/6 manifesting generator. Cool. And so like those numbers on the side, those are kind of like I was being told like about the gene keys, right? And so what I really learned on this last or like this last episode that I did was how to like, I ended up having this woman on my podcast. Her name's Katie Carlson. And what she ended up doing, does anyone know who Katie is? And she ended up going through my chart with me based on like my niche and all those kinds of things. And all of a sudden it was just like that reassurance that like, oh, like I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing. So when it came to the mindset and the content piece, having someone like be able to show you the exact way that you need to sell, that you can sell, is really cool. So I have a surprise for you ladies again on Wednesday to talk about human design and being able to bring and implement that into your businesses and the way that you sell. So I'm like really excited about that. And so lastly, just one last thing, why this masterclass? Why did I choose this masterclass to take you ladies through versus any other masterclass I could talk about? So I chose this one, the Aligned as Fuck Content That Converts, is because the AF is me. Like when you are in my masterminds, when I'm in the master classes, I know there's women who it's like they want to sit there and they want to like drive and like do it with like their family and stuff. You're probably going to have to put in headphones or just have the kids who know they shouldn't use the word fuck or whatever, because it just comes out of my mouth, the mouth like a noun, as like part of my speech. But it's like part of who I am, right? And I want to give you permission that you get to be your true authentic self, that there is a way for you to be able to sell by being you, that you don't need like all the like magic formulas for like your content and, you know, your promotion and like all the like pretty little like structures of like, well, I need to make sure I say this in this special way. Because the thing is, you're going to sound like a robot energetically. No one's like, people are going to be like, what is she talking about? This is not her. I don't know who she is. And so for me, content gets to be fun and easy today because I own who I am, right? And so for me, that's super important that you ladies like also take away from this. So that's what this masterclass, like I said, is about, is like stepping back into yourself, stepping back into your true authentic self, being able to have fun with your content by being able to see, right? That's the mindset piece, while also being able to see why your content isn't converting, because you might be showing up as your true self, right? Which is like, you know, you might be saying like, well, Brittany, I'm doing that. And so I'm going to show you the process that like you need to take in order to connect the dots from your offer to like your content that you are creating, so that you can build that primed audience who is ready to buy from you. So that's why I chose this masterclass. The steps that I did through the masterclass, that's why I chose them, is so that you can see the big picture and be able to create it. So that is it for this live. I will see you ladies tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There will be replays. There will be on my podcast. So if you are someone who it's like, you know what, Brittany, over the next few days, I can't watch the lives, I'm not going to be able to necessarily catch the replays, every single episode is going to be put over onto the podcast as soon as it's finished. So if you want to, like, you're cooking, you're doing stuff with kids, if you are like doing your own thing, I'm going to put it on the podcast if you're driving, all those things, so that you can listen to it and you can listen in. I'm a hand talker, so you might on the podcast hear me like explain something with my hands. If I do, make sure you can catch in and watch this. But what your homework is today is go live inside the group, introduce yourself, 2 to 3 minutes, just like quickly say like who you are, who you help, how you help them, what your niche is, and why you chose like the program or what you teach, like why you chose that. why is it important? If you're someone who's like, I don't like to go live, Brittany, that's not the kind of content I like to create. Share your best picture of yourself, your favorite picture, and share that about in there. So thank you so much for being here, ladies. And I will see you tomorrow. Remember, always go out there and you make life.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Make Life Your Bitch podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please share it with your bestie. And if you haven't already, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast player. If you have any questions, feedback, or compliments that you want to throw like confetti, you can reach me directly at podcast@makelifeyourbitch.co. Thanks for listening.